Jill Bellin's hanging out at Children's Cottage this morning. Children's Cottage, just one of the many businesses and organizations affected by the flood last year.
And we were visiting communities all week long, talking to business owners affected by the flood. And today brings us to Bridgeland, where the Children's Cottage is. And I'm joined this morning by Patty, who's the Chief Executive Director. Good morning to you. Thank you for having us.
Jill.
I'm trying to keep my voice down because the kids are sleeping. So tell us, for people who aren't familiar with the Children's Cottage, what you are all about.
Children's Cottage has a crisis nursery. That's where we are today. And it provides shelter for children when there's a problem, a crisis in their family that prevents those families from being able to keep their children safely at home. And so we'll take care of children newborn to age 8 during a time of crisis and make sure that the family gets to a pre-crisis point and the children are safe and sound during that time.
Okay, so the children would have been displaced at this time last year during the flood. Tell us a little bit about what happened this time last year.
Well, it was very much like today, pouring rain. We were evacuated, and all of the children were able to either go home again, or they went to Brenda's house, our homeless family shelter, or another satellite nursery out in Cranston. And they were nice and dry, so all the children were safe and sound out in those locations. And we just didn't think it was really going to get very bad here. But in no time, our basement was flooded 6 feet high, and our backyard was totally destroyed by the water. And we just couldn't believe what was happening to us. And a couple days later, we had all of these volunteers show up, 450 people in a week that came and helped us and made sure that we got back on our feet in a week to get the kids back.
Incredible that those volunteers were able to accomplish that in such a short amount of time. We will be speaking to the volunteers a little bit later, but tell us your initial feelings when you came and saw the damage.
It was such a hard time because our crisis nursery is always here for families when they're having troubled times, and everybody in Calgary was having a rough time a year ago, and we wanted to be there for families and be able to support those children and those families, and we couldn't. We were at capacity in our other locations with the children we'd had here, so we had to shut down, and that just broke our hearts because we really need to be available. And so that was the hardest thing. And then the devastation around us and looking at the people in the community that were devastated as well. It was a really hard time. But when you saw the volunteers coming through, it was just heartwarming. And you just couldn't believe that so many people could come together and make such a difference. And knowing that Calgary is such a community of caring, every day it was just incredible. And so we knew in that afternoon when we came back into the building, we knew that we were going to be up and running in no time just because of the community spirit. And the mayor was excellent, and he was leading the charge in the city, and so there was so much hope and so much activity that you knew that our city was going to get up and running and that the Children's Cottage would be up and running in no time.
And as you were, with the help of so many volunteers, and as we said every day this week, those stories make us so proud to be a Calgarian. We're going to take a tour. We're going to show you some of the new renovations downstairs that were done with our friends from Cityline. Guys?
Thanks, Jill. More from Children's Cottage in just a bit.